Giant DuPont, it's scheduled to report its earnings tomorrow. This is going to be a big deal. Why? Because activist investor Nelson Peltz is hovering. Will he start gearing up for another proxy war? Fox Business senior correspondent Charles Gasparino. Charles?
I guess you could say this is a cold proxy war. I don't think he's going to come out and do exactly what he did the last time. As a matter of fact, I think I'm not an expert at proxy battles, but I think you have to wait a little while after he lost the last one when he wanted 3 board seats, including himself. It was rejected by investors. I think he has to wait at least another year. But he's clearly got his eyes on DuPont. He's clearly behind the scenes and agitating. And what we hear from people close to Mr. Peltz is that if the earnings come out poorly tomorrow for DuPont, if they underperform, that's when you're going to see him reignite some of his attacks. Here, what we hear is, as you know, they're scheduled to announce second quarter earnings Tuesday a.m., I guess before the bell. What we hear is that he could do everything from pushing for a board seat at some point to possibly getting rid of the current CEO, replacing the current CEO with somebody else. We do know that Mr. Peltz has approached board members, Mr. Breen, and what's the other board member's name? Breen and Gallagly. James Gallagly and Ed Breen approached both of them to see if they're interested in taking over for Miss Coleman, Ellen Coleman. Both have said no, at least so far. But he may go back at it if those earnings come out.
What's his stake in this company?
It's a small. Listen, none of these guys have huge stakes. I think it's something like a 3% stake. Mm-hmm. They have enough to
big enough to make a difference.
To make a difference, and it's like Carl Icahn's stake. It's in Apple. Didn't have the biggest stake in the world. But he took a significant thing where he could advocate for stock buyback. We should point out that it's kind of interesting if he comes back at DuPont, particularly if he wants to get rid of the CEO, because as he's doing this, as you know, Hillary Clinton came out and basically said this type of activism is bad. This sort of what she called short-termism and quarterly capitalism. She pointed out in her recent speech that activists are actually hurting long-term performance of companies. So, it's interesting. If he comes back at it, he would be thumbing his nose at the potential president of the United States,
But it still is so fascinating to watch activist investors get involved. And he's one of these believers that this is a company who could be better off with him.
Remember, he wants to spin off some stuff. He wants some better management at the top. He has never outright called for Ms. Coleman to sit down, the CEO, Ellen Coleman.
Why not?
I do, not outright, but behind the scenes he is agitated. And I'll tell you, if she misses earnings, if there's a big miss, if there's something that looks really gnarly in tomorrow's earnings, he's, from what I hear from people close to him, that's when he's going to, then the rubber meets the road, and he may come out publicly and say something like, we need a change at the top. We do know that he approached both Mr. Breen, Mr. Gallagher. They claim through DuPont spokeswomen that they have no interest in taking over that job. But, obviously, if he pushes her out and if he shows the market that she's incapable of the job, doing the job, he's going to go back at it. We should point out that since he's been out of the stock, since he lost his proxy battle, stock has gone down. Stock has not performed very well.
Charlie, thank you very much. Charlie Gasparino. Again, the numbers come out tomorrow. Maria Bartiromo's show will have those the second they come out.